Yes, hello everybody. It is Thursday. It is 9, so of course that means UK Cowboys time. How we doing, Scottish fellas?
Not bad. Can't complain.
Good. Lorne,
I think Lauren is just
Lorne,
frozen up.
Lorne is frozen.
Yep.
He is.
Someone, quick.
No,
There he is.
He moves slightly. Oh, he's shaking his head. No, whatever you do, don't swear at your computer. We might hear you. Yeah, we also have a special guest joining us. He's just in the middle of arranging some bits and pieces, and he will be with us any minute. He's literally just getting set up. But yes, it is, of course, season 3, episode 58, 188 in total. It's the draft show, yeah. We are deep into the draft season now. We're getting ever so closer to the big day. So we're going to talk some trade rumors that are coming up. But what about yourself, Paul? How are you feeling as we get a bit closer to the big day?
I'm somewhat excited. You know, like I was trying to say this to Meg on our show the other day. There, it's like I'm definitely more excited of all the for me. As long as we draft all linemen, that's my number one priority. I just want to make sure that we just do the right thing. Like have you. There's no doubt we're going to have one of those luxury picks. The way things are going right now, with all the trades going, with the Eagles trade with New Orleans and stuff like that. Like we just don't know what's going to happen at pick number 24. But I know for a fact, I feel confident that we're going to be drafting for need in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, whatever. So, but yeah, I'm somewhat excited. But I'm really curious to know how the other teams are planning ahead, like how they rate certain players above us or below us. That's the thing I'm really quite intrigued about, and that's the beauty about the NFL draft. You just don't know what to expect, and then truly, and I keep saying this, it is literally a lottery. You're dealt with a hand, and you just don't know how to. And sometimes you just need to either go all in or fold, whatever. Like, well, that's more poker. I do apologize, but you get the idea.
It worked. Yep. I like the analogy, mate. Don't you worry. Go on, Lorne. You know you're back and you've got some internet going for you.
Yep.
We're just talking about getting closer to the big day. How are you feeling about it?
Just before Lawrence says he just topped it up, putting a couple of pennies in the wee meter.
Yeah, that's
it.
I
know.
Got the hamster running again.
Yeah, it's typical. I've been sat here 20 minutes talking to Mike just before, listening to the trials and tribulations of hot chocolate, wasn't it, Mike?
yeah. We're in a deep combo.
As soon as we hit start, my internet goes off. I'm really into it now. Obviously the Beast got released today, so I've downloaded that and already got it into a folder.
Nice.
It'll be nice for I'm away on holiday on Saturday, so that'll be my reading on the flight.
Some light reading, yeah.
Yeah, little light reading. But yeah, as Paul says, I mean, obviously it's looking like we're looking at wide receiver and interior offense lineman, whether that's center or guard, I don't know. All depends how the cookie crumbles. You've seen recently, you know, it's gone quiet on the free agency front. Maybe that's it until after the draft and we start filling holes after the draft again. But obviously we've been in discussions about Brandon Cooks, a couple of other guys as well. Obviously the one that went to New England, Devontae Parker.
Yeah,
we'd apparently approached about that. So
yeah.
I think we're all in. I think we're all in on the draft now. So yeah,
it does that a lot this time of year. But what we'll do is now he's here. Should we bring in our extremely special guest?
Absolutely.
Let's bring him in. He's extremely special. He's our extremely special VIP. It's Dave the Rave Helman.
What's up, fellas?
What's up, bro?
You're here this time.
Yeah, I know. I had a lot of time to make up, my bro. How you doing, man?
What's up, everybody?
Yeah. How you doing? You all right?
Oh, yeah. I can't complain. Just The exciting world I live in, doing some laundry in between, draft prep and all that fun stuff.
Right. So you're living in the fast lane then?
Oh, 100 miles an hour all the time,
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about some smoke and mirrors that have been going on in the draft. For me, I think, do you know the biggest smoke and mirror thing that has happened so far? I think for me is the Trayvon Diggs tweet about Stephon Diggs.
Oh.
Like, if that wasn't the best business move you could ever make.
I wouldn't say that after the whole new deal he just signed.
No, but that's the point. That's my point. Is that Trayvon Diggs goes, let's get Stephon Diggs over here. Miraculously, within a couple of days, he signs a massive deal.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a buzzkill. I don't think there was ever a ton of merit to Stephon Diggs going anywhere else. I never heard much of that or anything. I think Steph and Trey were just kind of having fun with people. It was entertaining though.
Well, it's the usual thing. Mention the Cowboys and you bump up your market value, immediately.
Well, that's very true, Lauren, because every player coming up for the draft or even free agency do it all the time. Mine, Melvin Gordon, did it. Who's the other guy? Plays for Cleveland, the defensive end.
Garrett.
Yeah, he did it. Myles Garrett. So
it's funny. I've been, I'm starting my 10th year covering the Cowboys, and at this point, I kind of laugh when people are like, "Oh, he said he wants to play for the Cowboys." I was like, "Yeah, everyone does. What's your point?"
Yeah.
Every draft Zeke did it too. Zeke, way back before he was ever drafted, he said he wanted to play for the Cowboys. It's the spotlight, the notoriety, it's attractive to people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as well, no state tax.
Doesn't hurt. Does not hurt. I
We
just
could do
did my
some of that,
taxes like 3 days ago, and I was like, "Man, this is pretty cool. Getting to skip the state tax part of the document."
Yeah. Big cross on that one. But yeah, everybody, if you just send us in your questions, give them to Dave as we break some things down. We're going to start with some rumors since you're here, because we've been getting them over this end. And if there's any guy who's going to tell us, it's going to be you, Mr. Dave. So we'll strike you with the first one. And I want you to try and help us out on this one. Rumor has it the Cowboys are looking to not just draft at the 24th pick, but they are looking to corral something together in a trade to try and trade back into the first. Have you heard any buzz on that?
None whatsoever, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It's always possible. Trading into the first round is not easy to do unless you have a ton of resources, which, I mean, the Cowboys have 9 picks, but most of those aren't very valuable. We just saw the Saints. We saw the Saints trade up a few days ago by using a future one. That would be surprising with the way the Cowboys value the draft, and they're obviously pretty good at it. It would be surprising to see them get rid of a future first, especially in a draft that most people agree. There's obviously good players in this draft, but not much in the way of like crazy generational star power. I would be pretty surprised to see them do that. Although I will say, I didn't think that they would just hang in there and make all 11 picks last year. That was very surprising. So number one, you never know for sure. Number two, I feel comfortable guessing that they're going to do some trading this year just because they usually do. Now, again, that could mean a lot of things. I'm thinking like a minor trade, not making 2 picks in the first round. I would be surprised if they did that.
Yeah. It was something that cropped up. We had Jeff Kavanagh on last week, and it was literally the rumors started on that one just after we stopped talking to him, and I was like, I was like, all right, that's okay. We'll pose it to Dave, and we'll
Sky
see
Moore,
what his
Sky
take-
Moore, Sky
Yeah,
Moore.
Yeah, I was
we
gonna
did have a lot of
say,
Sky.
yeah. Well, if Jeff was on, of course y'all talked Sky more.
We did, yeah. In fact, we talked about it for 2 shows. But Usman, do you have a pet cat yet?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few. It's funny. One of my favorite players in this entire draft is like it's a guy. I mean, the Cowboys don't have a huge need. I don't think it's a position that would get a lot of people excited, but I'm a big fan of Rachaad White, the running back out of Arizona State.
Yeah.
Big guy, surprisingly fast for as big as he is. He's like 6'1", 225, 228, something like that. Great feet, great vision, patient, and like I said, surprisingly fast. So I mean, I would like to see the Cowboys draft a running back on day 3.
Yeah.
Because Tony Pollard's in a contract year, and obviously we don't know what the future holds for Zeke. So I would love to hear his name called on Saturday. Christian Watson is another guy that I absolutely love, the North Dakota State receiver.
Mm-hmm.
If they decide not to draft a receiver in the first round, he's a guy that I think very highly of. Ironically, I keep saying, like, it sucks because he's my pet cat, and I don't think the Cowboys would draft him because he's an FCS player.
Yeah,
They don't do that. They don't do that very often. Certainly not in the top, 100 picks. Those are two that spring to my mind right now. I mean, it's so easy to fall in love with receivers. There's so many good ones.
Yeah.
You just say a name, and I probably like the guy if he plays receiver.
Well, funnily enough, we was talking about on Tuesday Christian Watson, and we were saying that in the pre-draft process, when you look at the combine, Christian Watson's probably had the biggest standout in terms of wide receiver. His jump from stage 1 to stage now. I mean, that he absolutely obliterated that combine.
It's crazy to me. He's from Florida. He went to North Dakota State. So, like, you look at him and you're like, oh, this he probably just grew up somewhere where nobody knew that he was there, and so he wound up going to North Dakota State. But he's from Tampa. I can't believe none of the big football schools in the South found that guy. But hey, whatever. He's going to make it to the NFL regardless. So
yeah. My only problem with it with Christian is I think when you watch it, he has a lot of what Simi Fajoko's got. He reminds me of him a lot.
And that big bodied guy can run really fast. I think Christian Watson is a little more polished, but I don't. I totally get where you're coming from. Simi did not play a ton of college football. It's been a minute since I've looked at his bio, but I remember, like, he went on a mission for a little while, like out of country. So, yeah, I feel like Watson's played more football, but in terms of body, I agree with you. And also, I mean, I don't think the Cowboys will draft Christian Watson. I think they'll probably look for a different style of receiver, but I sure do like watching him play.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like myself, like I don't know why I keep thinking this, but I keep looking at like Khalil Shakir from Boise State just because of the whole Kellen Moore relations. I don't know if that may be a type of player that we could be potentially looking at. I don't know what your thoughts are, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard his name a ton. Not so much. I mean, I mainly from like fans and stuff, not to like get anybody super excited. No, and I think the Boise connection feels kind of lessened a little bit these days. There's just nowhere near as many Boise guys on their team as there used to be. But that's a guy that Kellen Moore's obviously going to be familiar with. I think he can do a variety of things for you. It's funny because we try to look at the roadmap. We're like, okay, who are they talking to? Who's visiting the facility? But like, I haven't heard them tied to too many receivers outside of the really big ones like Burks and Olave.
Yeah.
So I think it's anybody's guess where they go. Let's just assume that they don't draft a receiver in the first round. I think it's anybody's guess where they go. And yeah, I mean, I think Shakir is definitely a name worth knowing.
Yeah, because I mean, at the moment, when you look at it and you try and figure out the step by step, like try and connect all the dots together, it's definitely, I think, when you look at they bring in a wide receiver, James Washington, protect themselves. It's not. You're not going into the season going, oh, yes, we've got James Washington, but you've got a body to play. Same with the pass rusher with Dante Fowler. There's somebody there to protect you. So you say to yourself, okay, but they haven't done anything with offensive line. So to me, when you connect the dots and then you look at the 30 visits, you go, yeah, this is looking like inside offensive line more and more.
Which makes me extremely happy.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes me happy in the sense that I think that would be a good idea. Yeah, I mean, if you made me guess today who they were going to pick, I would say Zion or Kenyon Green, whichever one is there.
Yeah.
I just think it's weird because, like, you just laid it out perfectly, Mike. Like, they usually protect themselves so that they don't have to do that, and they just decided not to this year at guard and tackle. Like, if they don't come out of the first round with a guard, they're going to be – you talk about trading, they could be in a situation where they have to.
Yeah.
If you remember, I bring this up a lot, 2014 when I think they had the 46th pick. They drafted Zach Martin 16th, and then they used their third to get up into the second. They drafted DeMarcus Lawrence with the second pick of the round. If they don't get a guard the way that this is positioned right now, they might have to do something crazy like that to make sure they get their guy. And that's I'm kind of at a loss for why they've done that. I guess they just didn't like the free agent pool at guard this spring.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one as well that Brian brought up in our group chat that we have. Is he said it's quite interesting when you think that they haven't done anything with offensive line, and could it be that they don't want to bring in a free agent so it protects themselves for comp picks for next year?
That's a good point. But I mean, the number of guys you bring onto the team affects how many comp picks you get. But
exactly, yeah,
they've lost so many more than they've gained. Like right off the top of my head, I mean, they're going to get a comp pick for Randy Gregory. They're going to get a comp pick for Cedric Wilson. And then it's, a lot of these other guys, like, I don't think it'll be enough to offset that. And again, I get really the answer is probably just maybe they like Connor McGovern and Matt Farniok a lot better than people on the outside do. And the same thing could be said for it's really easy to forget about Josh Ball because he didn't play a single snap last year, but they might be sitting there thinking that they've got a swing tackle already on the roster, whereas the rest of us not so much. So that would probably be my guess. If there was a guard that they really liked that upgraded their team at the right price, I don't think they would stop themselves from signing him because of comp picks.
Yeah. And I'm in agreement with you there. And because the comp picks are great. And to me as well I think, would Mike McCarthy be happy with that when at the moment he's got hot butts?
Yeah. Brian brings that up a lot. Like, Mike McCarthy probably isn't interested in playing the long game right now. He's like, hey, I need to win or I'm not going to be the coach. So
yeah, he's got a certain Sean breathing down his neck, possibly.
Perhaps.
Although, I mean, obviously, New Orleans have sort of tipped their hand in what they're likely to be wanting next year, because obviously what they've traded away this year to get Philadelphia's picks, that's probably what they're looking for in compensation next year if anybody does decide to bring Sean in ahead of the game. And then obviously if it's the Cowboys, you add a little bit extra onto that as well. So
normally 50% extra, no doubt.
Yeah, you talk about how players and draft picks always want to play for the Cowboys. Like, nothing the Cowboys do goes under the radar, right? So yeah, I mean, if that were to happen, I think the price will be significant.
Yeah. But here's a scenario I chucked out, right, to Jeff last week. We got talking on this one, and I'll get your opinion, is do you think, and there is a way that this could work out, right, but do you think the Cowboys could go offensive line back-to-back picks with their first 2 picks?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think they could.
Yeah.
It's always, I think it's pretty unlikely to see that happen because you have other things you need to worry about. If you don't, I mean, if you draft a guard in the first round, then you've still got receiver and edge rusher and tackle and all these other positions. Obviously, linebackers probably a space where they could use some help. I don't think it's impossible at all. I mean, which it's ironic because Connor McGovern hasn't really panned out the way that they thought he would, but they shocked everybody when they took him in 2019. They were like, he's just way better than everybody else that was available. So if you wind up in another situation like that, of course, yeah. I mean, you can't rule anything out, but I would say I don't think it's super likely.
Yeah, we was trying to come up with certain ways. We were like saying, well, what if you had Trevor Penning available to you and you pull the trigger on that, or even Tyler Linderbaum in first? And I know that could be an iffy one, but then you go later down into the draft and you go, okay, but then, and this is what we was talking about, but then let's say somebody like Ed Ingram available to you then with your second pick. So you'd go Linderbaum and Penning first, and you've got that Ingram there. So there is a way that could work.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. It's because I think it would probably take something unforeseen happening in the first round. Because like if you draft the guard in the first round, I think you move on to the other things. But like, yeah, let's say Charles Cross is a guy that they've been looking at.
Yeah,
and
another.
Do I think Charles Cross will fall to 24? No, but if for some reason he does, though, you draft him without hesitating, and you say, "Hell yeah!" And then you could look at guys later on, maybe like a Darian Kennard or Dylan,
Strange.
Cold Chattanooga, yeah, absolutly, or
that's Paul's
the Memphis
Sky
kid's
Moore,
name?
just in case you
that's literally Cole Strange is my Jeff Cavanagh's version of Sky Moore, pretty much.
That's your pet cat?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Again, I mean, I think you and I are in the same boat then, because FCS guys getting drafted in the first few rounds by the Cowboys just doesn't seem all that likely. But hey, first time, you never know. I mean, there's a first time for everything.
Yeah. But I mean, when you go start looking through some of the 30 visits, there is one particular I am very happy with, and I'll get your opinion on this. If you think there's a possibility the Cowboys will draft him, and also where you have him touted. For myself, I'm talking about Jelani Woods, the tight end. I was talking about him very early in the season. I think I spoke to you about it, actually. About Jelani Woods, rocked up, big guy. I've got him as a 4th rounder. Do you think the Cowboys would go there, or do you think they wait till a bit later into day 3?
I'm starting to wonder if Jelani Woods will be there for you in the 3rd round, honestly.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
And yeah, they're definitely interested. They had him on a visit. Did you see? I mean, I tweeted this out. I tweeted this out yesterday. I'll pull it up real quick. His relative athletic score, like if you put together all of his measurables from all of his workouts, going back to 1987, out of 998 tight ends to measure, he had the best numbers. He tested better than Vernon Davis. He tested better than Kyle Pitts even. So, and I get it. I get that your testing scores aren't everything, but then you put on his tape and he's a big athletic guy who can stretch the field. He's not a bad blocker. I I think he goes on day 2, honestly. And I think
so.
If the Cowboys want him, I was asking somebody today. I was like, "You think Jelani Woods would have to be pick 56 if you were going to get him?" I don't know the answer to that for sure, but I think we've all been asleep on him a little bit, just in terms of like his value, not who he is as a player. But it certainly seems to me like he's climbing up the boards a little bit. I guess we'll see for sure in another couple weeks.
Yeah, but I mean, when you look at it, I mean, this is a guy that's just over 250 pounds, over 6'7", with an 82-inch wingspan. Like, what you do with that is one thing, but here's the crazy bit: for a guy that size, a 1.62 10-yard split, a 4.61 40, and then he goes and crushes 24 on the bench.
Yep, and what I mean, yeah, like literally, I mean, everything about this dude is freaky. It's funny, like. I guess I don't think his tape was quite as silly as Kyle Pitts, because he is bigger. He's bigger than Kyle Pitts, and they ask him to do a lot more traditional tight end stuff. But
yeah.
I mean, he's an athletic super freak. Yeah, his vertical is 38 inches at what, 6'7"? Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. So I think he's a day 2 guy for sure. But man, I don't think of tight ends as super sexy picks a lot of the time, because other than like unless it's like a Kyle Pitts, probably because they take a while to develop usually. Like typically it takes a tight end a year or 2 to get acclimated. But I would be very excited if the Cowboys drafted Jelani Woods for sure.
And it protects you as well with what is ever your plan is for Dalton Schultz, because I don't know if there's a long-term plan for him, whether, like I've said to you before, it seems to be the Cowboys' plan with tight ends is to draft them, develop them, and then release them into the NFL.
I know, right? Yeah, certainly with the one obvious exception of Jason Witten, they sure do seem to. I mean, right now, I would guess that Dalton Schultz is not going to get a long-term deal here. I think ideally their goal is to find his replacement in this draft and let him develop behind Dalton for a year, and then they let Dalton head out next year and get a comp pick for him. That is my educated guess.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think the only reason why we franchised Dalton was the whole Blake Jarwin thing, that you would potentially be looking at brand new starters across the board at the tight end position, because I don't think McKeon's ready to step into a 1 or a 2 role necessarily. So you'd be looking at bringing somebody in, and then you'd be looking at maybe a draft pick as well. So.
Yeah, I think if Blake Jarwin was healthy, I think Dalton Schultz would be a New York Jet right now, honestly.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like the trouble is that you've got is there's so many glaring holes with what they need to do. The one or 2 places where there's not glaring holes that randomly, which is odd to say as a Cowboy, is safety and corner. It doesn't feel right, does it, to say something like that?
We're filming a video series right now. We do it every spring called Building the Board, where we just sort of look through every position and when and how the Cowboys might address it. And we just shot our safety episode yesterday. And I was like, it feels really weird to sit here and say, like, I don't really think they need to draft a safety. I mean, if they do, that's cool, but I don't think they need to. I was obviously Jaron Kearse speaks for himself. I think everybody was very pleased to see him re-sign. And then Malik Hooker was playing his best ball toward the second half of the season. I think Achilles injuries, that's an injury that typically takes some time to fully recover from. So he was playing pretty well in year 1. Remember, he was still working his way back from it during training camp. So he wasn't even all the way ready at the outset of camp. So I think his arrow is pointed upward. You got both of those guys on 2-year deals. And then you got Donovan Wilson's got 1 year left on his deal, and they just drafted Izzy Mukuamu as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they draft a guy late, that's fine. But I mean, it doesn't stand out to me at all as like a position of need, which is definitely the first time I've ever said that in my career.
I know. But, a lot of people keep saying, since COVID, life is all messed up. And you're like, nothing is more true when you see wide receivers getting paid 22, 24 million a year, and the Cowboys don't need to draft a safety.
It's wild, man.
There's all things wrong with this.
It
There's too
feels
much wrong.
unnatural.
It does.
feels unnatural.
Mate, if I could come and give you a hug, I would, Dave. I would, but
I appreciate that.
Yeah, my arms don't stretch the Atlantic, so I'm sorry, mate.
That's okay. One of these days, I'm gonna get back over there. Damn it! And maybe hopefully the Cowboys get announced as one of these London teams one of these days. But
well, that was
funny
going to be something we was going to ask you. Go on,
Yeah.
Paul.
Well, obviously, when I was in Kansas, Dave kind of dropped the wee bombshell. You had the wee what was it you said? It's like, I've got a gut feeling I think we're going to be in London next year. And ever since then, you said that to me. I'm like, it's like, nah, surely not. So, but after reading up more about the international series agreement and how the rotation works, so obviously this year it's NFC teams that's hosting. So Cowboys are not obviously hosting a game this year like Mexico, and that was the big rumor. So that's not the case. But Jacksonville, they will play an NFC team, and the only two NFC teams that are traveling to Jacksonville is the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. It's the only two options. So it's a 50-50, I think. If it's going based what the international series agreement goes by, it's one of those two teams.
What's funny is, you laid it out perfectly. And the minute I realized that the Jags were on the schedule as an away team, I was like, okay, well, there's at least a shot that they're going to go overseas. The only question for me is, remember, like, even as a road team, you make a lot of money off the Dallas Cowboys coming to town. So the only thing that I wonder about is, do the Jags not want to give up that gate? They don't want to give up the money from host. They're going to fill up the stadium, all that type of stuff.
Well, just to add on top of that, Dave, about the stadium, they actually they actually moved from Tottenham to Wembley.
I heard that. I heard that.
So they've gone to a bigger stadium.
Going to a bigger stadium.
Funny thing is, sorry, go ahead, Paul.
So they're going to a much bigger stadium, and that is another indicator that could be Dallas, because as you know from 2014, the amount of traveling fans all across the world came for that game.
It's funny. I was in Miami for the owners' meetings last week, and I actually had a conversation with somebody who would know. I'll just classify it that way. And they told me, they were like, yeah, when we figure out what's going on with these overseas games. And I was like, you don't know? Like, you don't know. And they were like, no, I swear to God, like, we still don't know if we're a London team or not. No, like, I don't know. And if you go back and look, like, usually we know the games by now. Like,
roundabout now,
They announce, but even like they typically announce the overseas games before the rest of the schedule. Like when the Cowboys played the Jags in 2014, that game got announced way before the rest of the schedule did.
That's right.
And so
it was almost around the Super Bowl. I think it was the State of the Union address or something like that.
So it's interesting to me that it hasn't gotten announced yet. I don't know what's going on with that, but here's hoping, fellas, because I would love to see you all again.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. And just to add a more weirdness about this, it's like if they're going to announce the game, like they only announce only the host teams. So obviously Green Bay, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, and Arizona are the home teams for the two Tottenham games, the game in Germany and the game in Mexico, respectfully. So you would have thought, who they played against? We need to plan. Like fans need to know and plan ahead, just like any other time. Like when the schedule comes out.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I'm with you. Like I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, hey, NFL, the more you drag your feet, the more it's going to be hard for people to get there unless they obviously already live in the UK. I'm like, you kind of got to give people a heads up if you expect them to travel overseas. So I don't know. Hopefully, I mean, it's early April. I mean, the schedule will be out in less than a month, so we don't have to wait or a month or so. I mean, it's usually
mid-April onward.
I think they even, I mean, I want to say it was in May last year, but even still, it's like early May,
Yeah.
So hopefully we don't have to wait too much longer.
Yeah,
I
probably
think it
just
was the week. It was the week after the draft, I think, was when it was announced. So that
That sounds right.
You still got the press reports.
Yep.
Yeah, it will be good. But what we'll do is we'll promise just for you, we'll make sure Jamie doesn't bring out the Jaeger again.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you at all. I know better.
You know, Jamie, as soon as he sees you, he's going to light up. You know what we'll do? We'll even, right? I reckon it'd be good if we all come to the airport to greet you, all dressed as Jaeger bottles.
That sounds, God. I mean, I'm already sick thinking about my hangover, but I'll do it for y'all. I'll do it for y'all.
I'll be honest, man. Even the idea of that, of me doing that, I don't even feel well doing it.
Yeah.
I'm glad, like, old age has kept catching up with you, buddy, because when I met you 8 years ago, that's all you wanted to do was drink Jaeger.
Drink Jaeger and play football pretty much. Now I'm just like falling apart piece by piece.
Tell me about
it. Yeah. You know when things are going bad, when you make noises getting in and out of your chair.
Oh, is that bad? Because I do that all the time, all day, every day. Like sitting down on the couch, standing up from the couch, getting in the car, getting out of the car. I'm just like, oh.
Yeah. Once you start making those noises, you know that's it. You're getting, you're
all
there.
Over. It's all over.
But yeah, I mean, we'll get back to some draft talk with you. Trying to have a look at some of the questions that came in. So one from DJ Jog said, if Linderbaum was the first pick, he could see back-to-back on the offensive line, going back to our conversation a bit earlier. But here's one for you from Christopher Lee. Would you rather win free agency or the draft?
I think, well, I guess the reason I pause is, I mean, people use winning free agency almost sarcastically these days. You know, like the team that spends the most money wins free agency, and a lot of times it doesn't really work out the way that they envisioned it. And also, if you're winning free agency, that means your roster sucks because you have to overspend for other people's free agents. So I would way rather win the draft. I mean, an amazing draft class can absolutely set the tone for a decade of your franchise. That's probably not what Cowboy fans want to hear right now because they want free agents, and I get it, but I would way rather win the draft than free agency.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm a draft guy anyway, so I'm going to say that, and I agree with you because you have to overpay. But
I'd agree as well. I mean, both are actually lotteries because, you know, as Dave says, you can spend money bringing in all these high-priced free agents, but if you're not actually using them the way that they need to be used, or, you know, you pay somebody $15 million a year and they go down week one with an injury that they're out or potentially retiring after or whatever.
Or Lauren, those players are just there just to actually just take the money and not actually do anything at all.
Well, I didn't want to say about your Mr. Fridge Freezer.
Who you referencing, Paul?
You know exactly who I'm talking about. I don't know if you know, Dave, but I have a major dislike to Don Terry Poe after that whole year. Like, it just did nothing. Like, it was just there for a paycheck. So I'm very bitter with regards to that signing.
I mean, I get your point, but If somebody offered me $12 million, or whatever it was, I don't even remember how much
Is
money.
that
they
how
gave
much
him,
you got paid? Oh,
I don't.
God.
I don't remember, to be honest with you. Hang
Oh,
on.
man.
Yeah. Oh,
I'll
I'll find
pull it
out
up.
for you.
Oh,
I'll
God.
pull it up.
You really, oh, God, this is going to make my misery even more hell now.
No, it wasn't. It was 9. It was 9. But hey,
Not much better.
they guaranteed him $3.5 million. Look, that's how I know I'm not wired to be a pro athlete, because if I'm like, I'm older and I'm not as good as I used to be, but somebody offers me $3.5 million at signing, I'm like, yeah, I'll sign this. Who gives a crap if I get cut? I'll take it if you're giving it away. Hell yeah.
Mhm.
Fair enough.
I mean, 3.5 million to you,
But-
mind you, Dave, is probably just change.
Fair. I mean, yeah, these guys throw away more money than I could even dream of. That's for damn sure.
But I had a question for you, and because you're an LSU guy, right? We're gonna go there, and it's talking about
Go Tigers.
I break up my flag, and we'll get into
Nope.
an argument. No,
Don't do
we'll
it.
get into an argument. Right.
do it.
So it's more about Derek Stingley, because he is, for me, been one of the more harder guys to try and figure out. Freshman year, you go, yeah, first round. Then he has a somewhat middling year injury. The next year, same thing happens again. Like, what do you do with that? Because at the moment, all we've got to go off is 2019.
Yeah, I think you laid it out perfectly, man. Sting scares the crap out of me because of everything that you just said. But the talent is absolutely undeniable, though, and I think he reminded everybody that yesterday, which is why he's still going to be a top 20 pick. I just worry. I think you got to draft him into the right spot, because on top of being injury prone, and I kind of hate this like toxic attitude sometimes among like football people, but I don't think he is like the alpha personality that you need to.
Yeah.
He's not going to be the heartbeat of your defense. I don't think so anyway. I think he needs somebody to kind of feed off of, and that LSU team that he was on as a freshman was full of leaders, whether it was Grant Delpit, Christian Fulton, Patrick Queen, and obviously on the offensive side of the ball as well. But
forget about it on the offense, yeah.
I mean, there were plenty of guys for him to sort of take cues from, and I think when they all left, he didn't step up as a leader, in my opinion. So that's a thing that I worry about. But if you're drafting him into the right circumstance, this is just an example. Obviously, the Rams don't even have a first round pick, so obviously he ain't going there. But like, if you drafted him onto a team that had Jalen Ramsey, I think he'd probably be fine.
That can take the lead for him.
Yeah, if you drafted him onto a team with Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, I think he'd be fine. If you drafted him onto an entirely new young defense in need of a leader, I don't know. I worry about that. But like I said, I mean, he's such a freak athlete. He's so naturally talented. It ain't going to be the Cowboys' problem, because if I had to guess, he'll go in the top 15. But we talked about this on the draft show. Actually, if for some reason he did fall,
that was going to be my question.
I would draft him. I would absolutely draft him. Because like, you have a chance at a franchise cornerback at 24. That doesn't happen. I mean, that just doesn't happen. So you got to take a shot. And then also, I mean, this team has those type of people, whether obviously you have like Micah Parsons and Dak and Trayvon Diggs, DeMarcus Lawrence. I think this team has like that type of character that I wouldn't be worried about him. I don't think he would need to like step up, for lack of a better way to put it. So I mean, I would totally draft him if he were there at 24. I just don't think he will be.
But then, say you make that pick at 24. Obviously, we know there are other needs for the Cowboys, but you take that. What is that going to do then for, like, if we just go through the cornerback roster group? We know Trayvon is Trayvon. He's not going anywhere. You got Anthony Brown. So is he Stingley? He's going to push Brown now. But then what's that going to do to the guy like Kelvin Joseph? I know, obviously, we didn't see much of him, but we can't attest to how he's going to develop. What's that going to do to a guy like him?
You got some phenomenal depth, I'd say. That's,
Okay.
I mean, and that's ultimately that's why, Derek Stingley is not going to wind up on this team. I don't think it's anything we need to worry about, but that does go into your consideration. But I mean, in a like you draft the best player possible, right? Like you don't go away from a potentially great player because you drafted a guy last year. I mean, it is what it is. You can have regrets about that later, but you take the swing on the potentially generational player every time. I think if that were to happen, I think you could probably I would try to shop Jordan Lewis and Anthony Brown and say, hey, will anybody want to give me a day 3 pick for one of these guys? Otherwise, you just let them battle it out. And if Kelvin Joseph is your 3rd or 4th best corner, it probably means you got a pretty damn good cornerback room, which is not the worst thing in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just see if I can dip into the questions.
Well, before you
talk.
go into the questions, I just saw on Twitter that the Honey Badgers just had a virtual visit with the Eagles.
Oh boy!
Oh
yep.
God!
Yep. So,
well, here's go on. Sorry, Paul. Keep going.
That's it. Pretty much. It was just that was it.
Yeah. Well, here's one for you, Dave, as well, that we were asking Jeff, and Jeff seems to think that linebacker isn't so much of a need anymore. That he's thinking, wait, post-draft, maybe get a linebacker for depth, a body, if you like, for depth in free agency, the next wave after the draft. How do you rank Nakobe Dean and Devin Lloyd? How have you got them ranked?
Man, I love Nakobe Dean. He's one of my I mean, you talk. It doesn't really count as a pet cat if it's a 1st round pick, but
yeah.
I love Nakobe Dean. I love his instincts. He's always he knows where the ball's going before anybody else does. He's just fun as hell to watch on tape. I think the Cowboys, honestly, I don't think Nakobe Dean is big enough for the Cowboys. Obviously, they lean toward these bigger prospects. Micah Parsons speaks for himself. They're very big on arm length. So I don't know if they would draft Nakobe Dean. I do think they might draft Devin Lloyd, who is a much bigger prospect. Very, very fun player. Although, and this is just reading tea leaves from what the Cowboys have said. They have Micah. They brought back Leighton. They're excited about what Jabril Cox might be able to do. And then the big wild card in all of this is that Jaron Kearse is basically a linebacker. I mean, that's what he does. He's not really a coverage player. At least not. He's not a deep coverage player. He's a slot guy. He's a tight end guy. He gets down. He's in the box way, way more often than your average safety. So when you think about that, it does make you think okay, they're probably not going to spend a big resource on a linebacker. I think if they were to draft Devin Lloyd, it would be because they got wiped out of all their other options. I think they would draft an offensive lineman or a receiver before Devin Lloyd. And maybe that's just kind of a break glass in case of emergency. I think you need more bodies though. Obviously, Leighton's on a 1-year deal. We don't know for sure what they have in Cox. He just hasn't played that much football at the NFL level anyway.
What's his outlook like, by the way, Dave, with Jabril Cox?
Everything I've heard is that he's progressing the way that you would want him to. I don't know what that means for, I don't know if he'll be ready for OTAs. He got hurt week 6, so mid-October. So, I mean, if an average ACL timeline is 8 or 9 months, you would think that gives him plenty of time to be back. But no 2 injuries are the same. I feel like you need to remind people of that. It's this isn't Madden where you're like, he's out for 8 months, but he'll be back exactly 8 months later. Like some guys take more time. Blake Jarwin tore his ACL week 1 of 2020 and wasn't practicing until like a week into training camp. He missed all of OTAs. So you don't know for sure, but I'm optimistic that he'll be available by training camp at least. But yeah, so I think of linebacker more as something you start looking at after the first 2 picks. Like, I don't know if they need to use I don't think they need to use 24 or 56 on a linebacker, but starting in the 3rd round and definitely on day 3.
Okay, so if you go day 3 could make you very happy and ask you to talk about Damone Clark then.
Oh, I love Damone Clark.
Oh,
well,
the way you said that, then I was like, oh, I've touched a nerve, have I?
Well, the poor guy had surgery on a spinal, like he had spinal fusions. He's going to miss his rookie year. So I love him as a player. How early do you draft a guy that's not going to be ready for a year? I hate it for him. I mean, I think he's a 2nd or 3rd round pick if he's healthy, but he might not even get drafted.
It's possible.
I would probably wait. I would wait on him until at least the 5th round is the absolute earliest I would consider drafting him, and even then, there might be other guys that could help you more. It sucks for him.
Trey Walker, something like that. Then you're thinking.
I mean, there are a lot of good linebackers in this class. Like I just pulled up the list. I mean, any of the Georgia guys, Walker's great. Channing Tindall's great.
Yeah.
Who else? A lot of people are really high on Asamoah, Leo Chanel out of Wisconsin. I just wonder, like, how late can you get those guys? I think Walker specifically. I mean, it's at least possible. It's possible he's a 1st round pick. It's at least possible.
Yeah, I can see where you're going. Yeah, I mean, because there's a lot that you could do with a linebacker position. Depending where you want to go with it. And like you say, I think day 3 is a place if they do want to go down that road. But Jeff was fully into not drafting a linebacker at all and addressing everything else.
See, I mean, at the end of the day, you got 9 picks, and only 2 or 3 of them are going to contribute in a major way anyway. Like we all love this draft class that they just had. Micah was amazing, but really, Micah and Osa were like the only 2 dudes that had like big time roles. Like it takes time. So especially once you get to like the 5th round, I'm like, whatever, draft whoever the hell you want to. He's not going to do a whole lot as a rookie anyway. So I mean, I would say I would feel better waiting until like day 3.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't have a problem with it.
All right, so I've got a wee question, and it's not necessarily with regards to the linebacker, it's more defensive end. So, as you know, David Ojabo from Michigan, he's Scottish, right? It's probably but obviously it's a shame what happened to him in his pro day. He's not going to be in the 1st round anymore because of that. But do you think where would you see him lying like in day 2 or maybe even a day 3 because of what happened to him? Do you think Jerry might pull the trigger on it? Perhaps I know I'm causing an absolute bollock of a question here, but
you think Jerry's gonna pull a Cowboys special? 2nd round. It
wouldn't surprise me.
Gregory, Jalen Smith.
Yeah.
I just think of Mike McCarthy. He's not going to let that happen. Again, going back to hot butts.
Mike McCarthy doesn't have the final say at the end of the day. So
that is also true.
Yeah, but take the CD Lamb pick for sure.
It's a really good question, and unfortunately, there's just no way to know the answer short of going and looking at their draft board, which would get me fired. It's an interesting thought because again, like the Cowboys pick at 56, and David Ojabo before his injury had that type of athleticism where it's like there's only 3 or 4 guys in any given draft that have the ability to like really rush the passer. You know, they have that bend and that explosiveness.
The athletic, yeah.
And a lot of people thought he was one of them. So if you're sitting there at 56 and you don't like your other options, I think it's possible. I think the way that I would answer that is I would say I think they'd have to be wiped out on guys that they think could come in and help them right away. Like I think let's say they draft Zion Johnson at 24 and then you're sitting there at 56 with a choice between like David Ojabo and a tight end or a receiver that you really like. You're going to take the guy that you can play. I think anyway.
I mean,
so
if it was my choice as well, I would rather have someone that was going to contribute to the team like from day one. But in saying that, and Lauren will be, and it's like if we were to actually have a Scottish player playing for the Cowboys,
oh my God.
You think me bad enough going to games where my Celt was bad enough? Or you have no idea what comes next.
Oh, yeah, I can't even imagine if a guy who was actually born in Scotland played for the Dallas Cowboys. That would, I understand. I understand the appeal.
It's why we wanted F.A. Obada to do so well as well, you know.
Which he's still playing. Just signed. He's with Washington now, unfortunately. But
I know
it's been a long road.
You've got 2 Scottish players that are currently on the roster of the Giants as well, so you know there's no way in hell I'm supporting them. But
no chance.
And the other thing that I worry about as well with David Ojabo, I mean, this is a guy that was on Bruce Feldman's freak list. Yeah. So that just goes to tell you how much of a freak athlete he is. But it's his burst and his initial get off, plus his range. That is just crazy. And you say as well, Dave, you know, he's very bendy, can get around the edge quick. And I just worry with an Achilles, because it was an Achilles injury, what that's going to do to the thing he's best at. What's that going to do to him in that initial step and burst?
Totally. I mean, rushing the passer is all about explosiveness and the quickness and the way you get off. And so, I mean, I'm with you. And it's fun. Like ACLs, modern medicine is so great. Like, no, like ACLs don't even bother me anymore. I'm like, whatever, 9 months from now, like, let's go. He'll be fine. But like Achilles, that's still a pretty tricky injury. I think people still really struggle to come back from that. And you'll even, if you talk to people that have done it, they'll even say, you know, I didn't feel like I was back to myself until the second year after my injury. So, I mean, you do the math on that. Maybe if he ever becomes the same player, it might not be until his second year in the league or maybe later. Yeah, I mean, I feel terrible for him, but
definitely.
Yeah.
I would probably look elsewhere if it were me.
And when you think as well, the most important part of, you know, coming into the NFL, that rookie season is probably the most important in terms of development, building your athletic profile, and he's just fallen behind with that, you know, like with Jalen Smith. I always say that I don't think Jalen Smith was a bad player, but it's just that he spent the first part of his NFL career being able to walk again. And that's the time when you're trying to build your athletic profile to play in the NFL.
It's still remarkable you actually get to play in the first place with that type of injury.
Yeah, exactly that. But I got one more question for you, Dave. And then, you know, I said it was an hour we'll have with you, and we'll let you crack on and finish doing your washing.
No worries. Yeah, hit me. Let's go.
The last one was, with one of the comp picks, do you think they're going to draft a kicker? And if so, which kicker would you pick?
Do it! Oh my God, just do it. I hope so. I hope they haven't signed one yet because they're going to try to draft one. Because honestly, like, why else would you wait?
Yeah.
You know, there's a bunch of kickers that are out there unemployed right now. Like, why else would you wait unless you were trying to draft one? I'm biased. I would draft Cade York. He went to LSU, made a lot of big kicks for us. He can hit from like, oh yeah. I mean, he's got a crazy strong leg. He's like, he can hit from like 60 yards. He can boom it out of the back of the end zone. I would draft him in the 5th round. Honestly, I would draft him with my first pick in the 5th round just to make sure I get him. Fine by me.
It's a 5th round grade.
Yep.
Or, if they like Cameron Dicker more, though, the Texas kid, that's fine too. I don't care. Just draft a freaking kicker. It ain't hard. I don't know what they're going to do, but I hope they do it.
And because the two guys you just mentioned, because it's one thing we've talked about before on here, is that it's all well and good looking at field goals, where's your longest kick. But the thing I like to watch, and it don't take you long, is can they clear the end zone on a kickoff? And not many people think about that when it comes to drafting a kicker.
Sure. And we can make fun of Greg Zuerlein all day, but that's a big reason why they liked having him around too. That's why they thought about bringing him back, because he's valuable on kickoffs and he can, not only can he clear it out of the end zone, but he can do whatever you want him to. Like if you want to try a directional kick, or sometimes you'll say hey, let's short it on purpose here because we don't trust their return guy, or we think we can pin him inside the 15 or whatever. He was very good at that type of directional kicking, just was not overly reliable as a field goal kicker, which ultimately is the most important thing.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I mean, I hope they're going to draft a kicker because they should. It's funny. I went and looked at this. Most of the, Roberto Aguayo obviously was a terrible decision by the Buccaneers, but usually if a kicker's good enough to get drafted, in the 5th, 6th round, usually if you're good enough to get drafted, you're pretty good. Matt Gay was a 5th round pick. He's a Pro Bowler now. Evan McPherson was a 5th round pick. He was a big part of how the Bengals got to the Super Bowl.
Absolute clutch.
So identify the one that you like the most and go get him, Cowboys. That's my advice.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that one. I mean, because it seems to be, like you say, that when you, again, connect the dots, they haven't done anything there. I know they've got a guy under contract, who's, I think, taken 1 kick so far in the NFL, but all right, there we go. But, I mean, there are other options if they wanted to go undrafted, which seems to be the Cowboys' way with kickers, and they managed to find the diamond in the rough in those undrafted, or just some guy in a parking lot, as has happened before.
I'm totally on board what Dave's saying. I actually, you know what? It's mix it up, do something different. Why not?
And again, I mean, I look at it. This is just me, and obviously, you find diamonds in the rough every year. We all know Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. We get it, but the first 4 rounds are where you're looking for players that you're confident are going to help you and have a role have a defined role on your team. Those are the guys you draft to eventually be starters. 5th through 7th round is just a freaking crapshoot. Nobody knows who's going to be good or what's going to happen. A lot of those guys are not going to hang around your team for very long. I mean, people hate on Anthony Brown, but what makes his story so cool is he's been as successful as he's been as a 6th round pick. That's not normal.
Donovan Wilson.
I was just about to say Antonio Brown. It's just his personality or whatever and that, but you can't deny his football ability.
So, but if it's just a random crapshoot, go find the kicker that you think is the best and give it a try, because the guy is a linebacker you draft in the 5th round likely to be better than the best kicker in the draft? Probably not.
There you go. Even our own very own Dak Prescott, 4th round. There we go.
It's amazing though that we seem to do well in the 6th round, but 5th round seems to be,
That's a great point too, Lauren. They kind of suck in the 5th round anyway, so just go get a kicker. What's the worst that can happen? He sucks, just like every other 5th round pick for the last decade. Fine.
No, please don't. I don't want another kicker that's going to stress me out. I've got too many smashed glasses in this house already after last season.
But maybe if you draft the best kicker in the class, maybe he'll be, hopefully he'll be great. If he sucks, well, what are you going to do? I mean, that's football.
My wife asked me, she said, if we've got a kicker, and I said no, and she's gone and bought plastic cups.
Smart.
That's real. Yeah,
Smart.
They're in the cupboard still in plastic ready. So There we go. But that is the hour we said we'd take up of your time, Dave, because we know you got other things going on and anything could happen with the Cowboys and you'd have to rush off and dump us.
I gotta go. I got the pressing matters of my dirty laundry and my dog who needs to go on a walk. So that's the exciting life that I'm living right now.
Nothing wrong being a dog dad, mate. Nothing wrong with it.
No, definitely
Wouldn't
not.
love it.
3.
Absolutely love it. He's been giving me puppy dog eyes for the last 30 minutes. Like, when are we going out? I need to pee.
Yeah. He's like looking at his paw for a wristwatch. Yeah, but
yeah, exactly.
We are live as well during the draft. I know you do your own thing as well, but if you get a chance, we'll shoot you a message like I normally do. See what you're up to.
Shoot me a message. I'm going to be busy during the draft itself, but I might be available, Thursday before it starts. So just holler at me and we'll try to sort something out.
Yeah, excellent, mate. We'll try and get you on, get a draft prediction from you, and we'll see what comes about.
Don't forget, we've got day 2 and day 3 as well.
Yeah, we're not live. Oh, go on. Sorry, Dave.
Oh, y'all. So, I mean, I'll be available Friday too. Saturday will be Saturday is crazy because the draft starts at 11, which means I've got to be in the studio by 10:30 at the latest, and I live 40 minutes from the facility, so I get up pretty early on Saturday of the draft to make sure I got everything taken care of.
And day 3 is so fast.
Oh my God, yeah. But yeah, just message me. We'll figure something out.
All right, mate. Well, we'll leave you to it. Go let you walk your dog, and I'll send you a message. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it, bro. I'll talk to you all soon.
See you, mate.
And that was the David Helman joining us this week. So yes, there we go. So that's it for this week from ourselves. It's been a lot of fun. We will be back on Tuesday, although me and Paul are on again tomorrow on another show. So
and I've got a special guest on the Worlds team. I've actually got Texas Tech guard Dawson Deaton on the show. So it's quite interesting character. Really depends because he was one of the guys who's going to visit the Cowboys, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. But it'll be worth checking out as well. But we'll definitely, the other show we're going to be doing as well, man. I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, so that's tomorrow for us. And then we'll be back.
We didn't even mention who it's with, sorry.
With Jay Tuck over in Kansas, who's doing stuff with Kansas radio. But
also, congrats, Jay Tuck. Congrats to Kansas, the basketball national champions. Congrats, my friend.
Yeah, we'll certainly talk about that with him. But you'll see us over there if you're about. If you put matchsticks in your eyes, we'll be continuing on. We will be. But Tuesday we're back for the Prospect Project show. Next Thursday, another special guest again. Coming in thick and fast. We'll best do the sponsor read. Go for it, Paul. It's your turn.
Is it? All right, okay then.
Go on.
Yep. So guys, if you're planning going to a Dallas Cowboys game this year, be sure to go with cowboysexperience.com for the ultimate meet and greet tailgate and game day package experience. You get to meet players like from Michael Gallup there, as you can see, Zach Martin, former players like Travis Frederick, Drew Pearson, and many, many more. But guys, I know, but be sure to use the code UK Cowboys, and you shall receive free stuff.
Whoop,
and
whoop.
Also, as Mike just had on the screen there, go and check out the other content creators for the Cowboys.
Apologies. David Olds. Everybody there.
Yeah, so 105.3 The Fan, Hanging with the Boys, Cowboys Zone, J Tuck, Cowboys Fans Only, which is now called CFO Sports. Be sure to go and check that out, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Yes. So I'm going to let these guys finish the show off, and then we will see you on the flip side. See you on Tuesday, guys. Take it away.
See you later, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, I won't see you next week because I'll be sunning myself in the Algarve, but I'll see you the week after that.
All right. I'm going to cut you off now. See you later, guys. Have a great weekend.
You can try to break me. I cut my teeth on people like you. It's gonna take a lot more to take me down. I'm a step ahead, watch me wear my crown. Don't need a knight to guard the cave. Can count the dragons that I've slayed. You can give it all you got, 'cause love is running through my veins.